Well, look at that. Calendar says it's almost Black Friday. It's easy to get caught up in all those deals and promotions, but with all those incentives to spend more, do the deals really help you save much money? And for more, we're joined on the KCBS Ring Central Newsline by Chris Janeway, founder and CEO at Fourth Point Wealth. Uh, do you think these Black Friday deals, Chris, are as good as they seem?
It seems like this year, I think a lot of the retailers have cut back on some of the deals extended, but if you know what you're looking for and you've got the budget for it, it's great to take advantage of the discounts. It's just hard not to get carried away.
I was going to say a lot of this has to do with self-control, right? Because you're pointing out, don't get caught up in the deal, and I am guilty of that. Sometimes it's like, oh, but it might not be here later.
Of course, I mean it's human nature, right? That's how they get all of us, right? I work professionally in finance, and I find myself looking through the emails for the deepest discounts and what's where, and it's all stuff I don't really need, right? So we have to have the discipline going into holiday season before we lose ourselves.
But I'm wondering, because we've been spending most of the last couple of years at home, do you think there will be a splurge on maybe vacation holidays this year, or trips, or gifts like that?
I think we may see an uptick, obviously, with some of the pandemic kind of easing over time and vaccination rates increasing over a long run. But travel is expensive, right? We saw the revenge pricing, if you will, kind of pop up over the summertime, and travel is expensive. Travel costs are up, and so I think that we probably see a pretty steady, normal travel season rather than just a crazy influx. I think really it's the over the top spending that people need to be careful of.
Do you find that shopping opportunities like this is where bad spending habits are born?
Well, I think a lack of discipline about money, right? We're not taught money when we're growing up in our school systems, and people don't understand what a credit card is really for or how to use it. But what they do know is that if I swipe this piece of plastic, I can make a minimum payment and just pay this thing off over time. And so we get the instant gratification of buying that flat screen TV or whatever it might be. But at 15, 20% interest on some of these credit cards, right, I'm paying double for that item over that time period if I just make those minimum payments. So people go in uneducated and lack the discipline, when if they went in with a plan, life could be a lot easier and we could take advantage of some of the deals that are out there properly.
And, some of that, like you said, comes to budgeting, where maybe in January you start putting $50 or $75 a month aside. And by the time you get to November or whenever, you've got a decent stock of cash there. But we start thinking about this in October or November, and we realize, well, gosh, I just don't have any extra money lying around.
Exactly. People just don't think about it ahead of time. And we don't want to be the parent or the friend or whoever it might be that doesn't get the generous gift, and so we punt, right? We swipe the credit card and we say, I'll deal with this next year. And unfortunately, that's something that just kind of continues to snowball year after year if we don't go in with discipline and a plan.
You were a financial coach, and it's interesting what you say about we're not taught about finances or how to spend money. We just kind of sometimes mirror what our parents did. And it is interesting because, you look at a mortgage, and that's something that, you're obviously paying off over time. So if you apply the same principle, people would think, well, gee, why can't I use a credit card? Because I'm paying that off over time, not realizing that there are tax advantages to having a mortgage versus there aren't any tax advantages to paying off a credit card.
Absolutely. And there's a big difference between a generally appreciating asset like a home and, going out and buying a TV. And so, that's good debt, bad debt type of discussion, right? There's no such thing as good debt, in my opinion, but buying a house and establishing good credit, right? Building that track record, getting a good interest rate. And there's obviously a big difference between a 3% mortgage right now versus 15 and 20% on a credit card as well.
So what do you tell a married couple that may come from different backgrounds? One that is, let's not use the word cheap. My dad likes to use the word thrifty, and one that tends to be a little bit more loose with money. What do you tell them when it comes to spending during the holidays?
Yeah, this is a really common story, right? It's very rare that I have two spouses in my office that agree completely about money or view it the same. And so, I think that you have to create a family plan. It's the first step and the hardest step, frankly, is just talking about money. talking about it and sitting down and going through, okay, well, what are our real goals here as a family? And are we making each decision in line with those goals or not? But when you get everybody to have that conversation, it takes away any of that frustration. It can build resentment when people, one's spending and one is not, and not quite in alignment. So first thing is just getting on the same page. And two, setting the budget for the holidays, right? If we set the rules of the game, it's a lot easier to follow it.
Yeah, and try to stay within those boundaries too, because there's a lot of sort of fudging as you get closer to Christmas too. Chris, good talking with you. Chris Janeway, founder and CEO of Fourth Point Wealth.
KCBS News Time 5:37. We'll check.